I'm Coach George Coulthard from North Carolina, and on tonight's show, our inaugural show, we got Coach Drew Piscopo, who is the offensive coordinator at Ashe County High School up in Jefferson, North Carolina, a place that holds a special meaning in my heart. It's actually where I had my first high school coaching job when I got out of college, so I didn't know that when I first met Drew, but we're glad to have him on tonight, and Drew, let's just get started. I'm gonna bring you in here, and tonight we're gonna talk about signaling and communication in the air raid. And so many times you go to clinics and people want to talk about scheme. And if you guys ever get a chance to listen to Drew talk about mesh, he is one of the best mesh guys around. He's really put in the time and effort for that. Him and Pat Taylor went out to Pullman and spent some time with Coach Leach. And anybody who ever gets a chance to do that needs to spend time with Coach Leach. He's an interesting guy. Got some great stories, and I know Drew and Pat got some great stories about Coach Leach and just the kind of guy he is. And before I turn it over to you, I would say this: the one thing I love about air raid guys, they're just down to earth. And Coach Mummy and Coach Leach, they would be just as happy coaching high school ball as they are coaching major Division One. And so, Drew, just if you want to talk real quick about maybe that trip out to see Coach Leach, and then we'll get into talking about some signaling and communication here in a second.
Yeah, it was a fun trip, definitely for Patrick Taylor and I get the back in the summer. Was like extra out there. Would want to go with me. He before uh, made a trip and got to the 3 day install. Each of the schools gets just like totally open. You really won't hold anything back. You can have anything you want. Easy dog track and you can jump from conversation to conversation, just completely different topics if you want. He goes cool at it, like those days. First when we saw him when he walked in the room, this is one of the quarterback was like coach each comes in the room, just got clear the air here. He like got any question, wait till after the meeting and then we can ask you something here before there's no telling where it's so.
Yeah, he can. The times I've spent some time with him, he's the only person I've ever met who can have like five conversations with five different people, and each
And
one of those people feel like they're getting his undivided attention. It's just,
it's big, yeah. And I was on the field with the dude, and he's in the middle of signaling plays for the offense. I mean, I know if I'm practicing, I just have kids come up to me talking to me while I'm doing that. I can't focus on what kids have talking to them, just going on the field. And I'm just having conversations with Patrick Taylor out in Griffin, Monterey. And I love signaling the offense way how he can multitask and be totally in sync with everything that was going on.
well, it's funny you mentioned signaling. That's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. I've been to dozens of air raid clinics or presentations, and I've been fortunate enough to spend time with the best of them. Coach Mummy and Coach Leach and Matt Mummy and those guys, and everybody wants to hear about how do you run mesh or how do you run Y cross or and all those things. And once you kind of get those concepts down, there's really not a lot of tweaking that you do. I mean, you don't change a lot if you're smart. I mean, you just kind of go with what works and keep it moving, kind of the old Novocaine type thing. But the one thing that I always wanted to talk to people about, and the few times that I've had a chance to kind of sit with Coach Mummy in some social situations, um, you know, Coach Mummy, how do you signal this, or how do you play faster, or how do you communicate that? Because to me, that's the difference between being a good coach and a great coach. Is it doesn't matter how smart I am on Friday night. It matters how smart that quarterback is, and then how efficient we are in getting information from one person to the next. And I think those are the things that many of us really want to know but don't know how to ask. And so I thought tonight we would look at that a little bit, and I'm gonna try to see if I can't get this presentation to come up real quick, and we'll go from there. Uh, but let's kind of look at it and see if we can't. There we go. Talk a little bit about signaling and communication. And so, a lot of us, we look at this thing and we talk about, why no huddle? And for me, I think the thing that changed everything for Coach Mummy and Coach Leach was when Coach Leach looked at him one day and said, when we go 2-minute drill, we're really hard to stop. Why can't we do that the whole game? And if you ever get an opportunity, you need to read this book. It's called Stretch the Cornfield by Rob Kaiser. Great book. It talks about the stories from Iowa Wesleyan. And if you've never heard those stories, you got to read the passage about Coach Mummy throwing a turkey into the president's yard. I would have been I would have gave $500 to be a fly on the wall for that deal, because that's just an hilarious anecdote from the book. But the book talks about how the air raid evolved and why they started playing fast. And I just feel like the worse you play, the faster you need to go, because it just makes it easier. Because eventually people are going to get tired. And if you've ever looked at any of my screen stuff, I talk about the ability to make defenses run side to side and tempo and things like that. And so that's why we like to no huddle so much. And but the biggest thing would be that third bullet right there, and that means playing fast means communicating fast. And Drew, I know you do things a little bit differently than I do. When we had the dry run on Sunday night, we talked a little bit about this. But talk to us a little bit about your tempos. How many different tempos do you have in your offense?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of what we did the other night. We don't really necessarily have multi tempos. We have a Mayday tempo that we can get to if it's something where we're trying to go pretty quickly. But tempo is controlled by our signals, like you talked about, and we have real simple hand signals for pretty much everything we do, whether it be tagging routes or just a complete concept in itself. So, like, we have a hand signal for like a vertical, a stop, an out, a slant, all those types of things. And then we also have separate hand signals for play. So like I said, we can go as fast as we want to go, just because our symbols would be just as simple as boom and then another hand signal, like a formation, say that. That'd be a hand signal. So you just go ace flick, and then they know what that is.
Hey, I just pulled you back up on the screen. Can you show us, like, just something, nothing top secret, but just kind of like how would you signal something in?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like ace, and everyone knows the signal for six is kind of that. I mean, that, like, even Mommy's kind of talk about that in clinics before, kind of the ace, six. That'd be a formation, that'd be a play, or that's a formation, that's a play. Formation, play, formation, play. So stuff like that's real simple. And that's kind of how we would do it. And then our quarterback, the funny thing is, I can do that all day long, and my quarterback's signal in our offense is completely different than my signal. So trying to steal my signals is not going to do you any good, because the quarterback out there is going to have a different hand signal than for the same play. And so the receivers know the quarterback signals, and then the quarterback knows my signals. And then we also go off a wrist plan, and I brought one here to show you what I'm talking about. So
yeah, that's actually the next slide real quick. Let's get into that real quick, and we'll get to that in just a second. We're talking about, we have 4 ways to communicate, and I put the picture of Paul Johnson talking to the quarterback there. Those of you guys like Drew who were quarterbacks, just think about how many miles you ran in high school going back and forth to get to play. And then so we talk about the huddle, and then there's the wristbands, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, and then signaling the players, and then lastly, one-word plays. And I think we're probably a couple of years away before some high school in Texas has a headset in the helmet. But right now, we're just going to go with the 4 ways to communicate that I could think of. And so, Drew, talk to us a little bit about how you do wristbands, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we do them here in a second.
Yeah. So I mean, really, too, like even what you were talking about with the tempos, if we want to go faster or even earlier, it because our hand signals are just one signal, it's all on the quarterback. So if he wants to go quickly, he just throws that same hand signal and says, let's go." But it's real quick. So we can go as quick or as slow as we want to at the same time. And as far as our wristbands go, my quarterback it looks like this, just a little wrist. It doesn't split out. It just kind of unstraps like that. And he has the open area, the red zone, or the goal line, and the 2 point on wrist plant. Like I would kind of, and then I would just signal a number to him. So I'd be like wrist plan 5-2, and then 7. So he's
Right.
math. So it's like 7, 7, and so
Yeah, that's seven for us. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
yeah,
One,
yeah.
one in.
I've done that is 7. I've done that is 8. That is 9. So we've done different things like that. Now I'm doing like 1, 2, 3 is like on the side. 4 is down. 5,
Mm-hmm.
6. So that's where you get mixed up too, because you get ace. If someone's trying to steal my signal, you got A6, and then you got wristband 6, and they're different. And then you got 7, and you have 8, and then
Right.
you have 9. So,
I
and so,
the last head coach I worked for was really paranoid about guys signaling stealing his signals, and and it had happened to him a couple of years before. And so he has like 3 guys that signal on Friday nights. And we got one guy, he doesn't even coach. He just showed up to signal. And
yeah,
that's the one thing I like about tempo is that I think when you go tempo, if they're stealing signals, they're not lining up. And so that's one reason why I think we're all pretty easy about, hey, this is how we signal, this is how we signal that. Well, let me talk about how we did wristbands when I first started. When I first started the air raid, I learned it from Joe Salas, who was a GA from with Coach Mummy down in Valdosta. And if you get a chance, he's got a pretty good YouTube channel. It's Coach Joe Salas. He's got some really good videos on there if you want to check him out. He's a good buddy of mine. But the first thing that we did, because we took the job like in May, and I didn't get Joe until almost August, so he wasn't with us almost the whole summer. And so we came in and we put the offense in. And so what we did is we actually did wristbands by positions. Now, you want to talk about something that was hard to keep in touch with, it was that. Because what we had to do is we had to go and make sure the X had the X, and the Y had the Y, and the Z had the Z, and the H had the H, so on and so forth. And then, but if you had a kid that played X and Z, you had to make sure he had the right wristband if you took him in and out. And
right,
so that was kind of hard. But what would happen is if let's say you were running mesh and you were the Z, you would look at your wristband and it would say, high. It would say corner, run the corner route. Or if you were running Y stick and you were the Y, it would say stick,
right,
but the Z's would say peak.
yeah,
And so we did it like that at the very beginning. And then the OL group one on that one, I don't know why I got DL up there. It should say OL wide receivers. I guess I just got excited talking about line play. But the OL one just would say pass. So like if we called 92 wherever it was on the wristband, it would say pass. And they just knew that it was pass, and then if it was quick, it was quick, because we were vertical setting. So whether it was 2 or 4, and that's how we did that. And then lastly, the wristband that we used had several layers to it. It had 2 colors on one on the top, one on the bottom, and then there were 2 different names in each color. So like green and gold could also be Trojan or Caballo. It didn't matter. And so that's what the quarterback would say. We would signal it to him, and then he would just yell, Trojan 10, but the next time he might say green 10 or yellow 10, and to do that. And that was effective for us the first year. The second year, we had went to the Carolina clinic and talked, and I had an opportunity to talk to Gunnar Brewer for a little bit. And I pulled him over to the side, kind of at the social point, and I said, Coach, talk to me about signaling. And so he talked to me a little bit about it. And so the next year, we just committed to going completely without wristbands. And so we went with the old Coach Mummy thing, 90s being the head, 60s being the chest, and all that stuff. And then we would just go 92, and that was
Yeah.
and so we talked about how we did that, and so in my mind, looking at the PowerPoint again, signaling the players, there's either two ways to do it. It's either coach driven or QB driven, and the first year, and I think when you do wristbands, you have to do it this way. It has to be coach driven because everybody's kind of looking at the sideline. They're getting the signal from the coach, and they look down at the wristband. But if you do it that way, if one person misses it, what happens? And so the second year, we went to more of a QB-driven signal, and it's kind of like what you're talking about. We would signal it to the quarterback, and then he would get everybody in order. And I think if you watch any, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, any of those guys, Washington State now, the old school stuff, what you see now is they're all looking at the quarterback, and he's going ace, 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 blue, 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 getting people lined up, and then everybody's looking in at him. The receivers are getting the signals, and then he's giving the keywords to the offensive line. That's kind of how we do it. We'll signal the screen to one side and the screen to the other side, however we do, and then we'll give the line a call, whatever that keyword may or may not be for the day. And then you have that check with me system where you signal the play in, but then they also know that they could be, we could get it easy, 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 and they all look to the sideline and the coach checks it. But and that's kind of where I was until I heard you and Pat Taylor talking at the Foothills. And that's when we get into this QB check. So talk to me a little bit about QB checks and how you get yourself comfortable in allowing a 17-year-old kid to have your future in his hands.
Yeah. Well, it starts with a lot of film, and you can't really replace that. So I spent a lot of time alone with him, been teaching him that. So there's no. Then reps, I would check days as much as possibly see something. I reinforce, I want you to, but I always teach him to check down. So I don't like him to necessarily check from 95 to 90. I'd want 95 and see, a fast screen's available. I want him to check.
Right. So yeah, you're breaking up just a little bit, Coach. But what he's saying, guys, if you didn't hear him, is that when he tells his quarterbacks to check, he wants them to check from the top down. So he doesn't want them to check from like 95, which would be Y cross, to 94, which is Y sail. He doesn't want them to do that. But he does want him to look and say, hey, look, if there's a key screen over there, or a quick game that he can get to readily, that's what he kind of wants him to do. And I'm assuming the reverse, Drew, if you have a quick game called and those guys are all pressed up, he has the opportunity to maybe check to the sixes or something of that nature as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. Looking for run boxes first, leverage and quick game. If they're press or 1 or 0, yeah, he can throw a 66 or 6. Either one and take a shot. That's kind of his.
Does he have free reign to count boxes, and if you get a 5-man box to check a run on any down, or is that just like first and second down?
It's mostly first and second down. Yeah, unless you got a real good reason for third down. And we teach him certain box runners, which runs we like versus certain looks. So like we like runs versus like a 4-1 box versus an odd front versus, if he doesn't really know, zone is kind of our base. But we like certain runs, certain fronts. You just kind of have to tool up on that. So that takes some time. That's the part that scores them a bit. But
and I will say this: box counting is a big deal in the air raid. Every time that I talk to someone, they just assume that we're just going to throw the ball until the cows come home, and that just means we love to throw the ball. It doesn't mean we have to. My catchphrase being "spin it to win," but I can remember in the first round of the playoffs a few years back, we had a high wind and rain, and it was just horrible, and throwing the ball just wasn't a great night. We had 18 carries for 195 yards rushing because we kept getting 5-man boxes and we kept checking to the dart. And I don't know if people aren't familiar with Ashe County football, but you guys have had what 4,000 or 5,000 yards of offense the last 3 or 4 years, and how much of that is run?
This past year was a good amount. In years past, it hasn't been. This past year, we had a 2,000-yard tailback, and then we also, our quarterback still threw for 3,500 yards. So our quarterback was in the second in the state, I think, in passing, and our tailback finished like fifth or something in rushing. So we had a real good, obviously a two-way hit right there that made us good. I mean, we finished, I think, second in the state total offense. So, I mean, we can move the ball. In years past, though, it's extremely pass happy. We've rarely have we ever had 1,000. I think last year was the first time not only having 1,000-yard rusher, but the kid getting 2,000 was pretty special for us. A lot of it flows into that. I mean, there's
and I will say this, being familiar with the area, you're not dealing with top end speed athletes up there that you're just, that's a lot of coaching and fundamentals and execution that goes into those kind of numbers. I mean, you're going to a NASCAR race with some pickup trucks and getting in there and mixing it up. You don't have very many Ferraris come through Ashe County, but those boys do what you ask them to do, and that's the mark of a good coach is when you can get players to do that, because we all know great players make great coaches, right? So as we're talking about signaling, and we're talking about, Drew talked a little bit about his QB checks, and that's interesting to me, how he tells his quarterback to check from top to bottom and those kind of things. The last little piece that I want to talk about tonight is one-word plays, and I think Drew, did you tweet this out tonight about one-word plays? How you had was that you that I saw tweeted that? How it was like mesh something, but it was like one play. Was that you that did that, or was that Slade Singleton?
I think it's Slade, yeah.
Yeah, Slade Singleton did that. He's the if you guys aren't familiar with Coach Singleton, if you'll follow him at Slade248, I believe, or he is one of the R4 guys, and he had a thing, and they talk about one-word calls, and if you think about it, the air raid is not very wordy if you're a traditionalist. To begin with, but it can be wordy if you try to get cute with formations and things. But talk a little about if you have one word concepts that are with tags in them, or do you have the word and then the tag added to it, or have you built some of that in there together?
Yeah, none of our stuff's verbal. I don't mind it. I think it's a good idea. It's something that I think you can go real quick and yell it. But like I said, if we're going quick, it's Mayday. Like we'll just yell out Mayday, and then I'm not lying to you. It's like one hand, quick signal. But that is the play. So all our guys know. We tell Mayday, 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 and then he yell one word, just to the O line, and then boom, that's the play.
What we do in that situation is we actually have a scripted list, which is the last thing on the thing. Is that we have 10 plays that the kids have to remember.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people do that. I mean, and I've talked to a lot of people that. I've seen, whether it be words like Atlanta, Charlotte, cities, just kind of keep in mind of cities or whatever.
Numbers. we have 9 numbers, and we have combinations on how to call those numbers, and so we basically have 2 screens. A tailback run, a quarterback run, a freeze play, 6 calls, Y stick, a rollout, and I believe, what's the other one that we have? We change that one every now and then. I think we're at play action Y cross was in the last Indy list that we did. But, we'll catch those kids in the hallway, and I'll be like, hey, Indy 5. And if the kid don't know it, I'll be like, hey, man, give me 10 push-ups. You're either going to get stronger or smarter. Either way, I win. And, but that's an old Joe Salas saying. That's a great one. I stole that one a long time ago. But those scripted lists are fun, and we make a game out of it. And but that really helps us a lot. And I'm real big about going off that list. If we break a big run or something, I can tell you right now, if you ever play against me, if I break a big run, I'm probably throwing fast screen to the boundary on the next play.
Yeah, and if really. When you watch Oregon play, like the old Blaze offense with Chip Kelly, it seemed like every single time they had a big play, they went in real super fast tempo, and then the next play comes was inside zone with a quick screen or fast screen, as you called it. I mean, it was inside zone quick screen. I mean, it was he was almost a guarantee back then with that Oregon team. So yeah, I've seen that happen a lot too, and I've noticed in years past, even with Coach Beach, almost every single time he's getting explosive, he comes back with shallow. I don't know why, but that's something I've picked up watching these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I think a lot of people have their play that they go.
Yeah, and you know, and I think that goes towards you know, that goes towards personality and how you do things. You know, I talked a little bit about that today on the channel when I did the Power Read video when we were talking about, you know, I'm a guy that I like to run Power Read out of motions, and if I have those opportunities, I'll do that. Now, other guys will run Power Read out of split back, and they don't care about movement, but I like moving receivers and kind of getting that lead and doing some things. And so I think the best thing about the air raid is that the air raid is a framework. I think that these are the types of things that make the air raid special, how you communicate, how you signal. The most important thing to me in the air raid is how you practice. And I think we'll talk about maybe practice here in the next couple of weeks. We'll get, you know, have another stream and talk about practice schedules and things like that. But you know, I think it's just important that you look at it and you make this stuff your own. And that's the reason why on the channel I like to do short videos to give people ideas on how to do certain things and then let them make it their own, because I think that's important. And you know, that to me is you know, the big deal. It's what do you do to you know, what do you do to score points? What do you do to you know, to make kids have fun? And to me, that's why I went to the air raid. I went to the air raid because I needed to get kids to come out of the hallway. I went to the air raid because 13 out of the 15 basketball players at my school played football because of the air raid. And like I said, I know that there are other offenses that are really good, and I don't think ours is any better than others. But it's what I do, and it's what I love, and I'm just glad that you know, we have a community of people who want to do certain things and want to be involved. And you know, this is a thing that I'm trying to build, and obviously we got some wrinkles here and there, and I'm just glad we were able to kind of get this live stream going. And you know, they're talking about it's, you know, there's some issues with some of the audio that we'll try to get worked out, and a lot of that is just, you know, different people from different areas. But you know, Coach, I'm not going to keep you tonight. I just really appreciate you coming on the channel. I appreciate you coming on the live stream. You're a great guy, and you know, one of the big time hot young coaches in the state of North Carolina. So if you ever get a chance to talk to Coach, hit him up on Twitter. He's, you know, just like the rest of us. He's willing to share, and I'm just really glad that I could get you to come on, and would love to have you back anytime, and definitely see you at the clinics and doing those things. And anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
And I'm joking with him. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Well, listen, hey guys, always remember, you know, just like and subscribe and share and set your bells up so that you guys can see what's going on when the videos come. I'm gonna try to upload as much as I can day to day, just to kind of put little ones up. I've got some guys who want to share. Hey, if you got an idea and you want to share and you don't want to do your own channel, but you just want to do a video, I film most of my stuff with iPhone. It's really easy. Let me know. I'll give you the Google Drive. You can send the film over, and I'll add it up in there for you, and I'll edit it up for you, and we'll get you on the channel, and you can share some ideas. My buddy Chris Napier out of West Virginia did that, and you know, he had a couple of issues with his audio. He's like, yo, Coach, I'm gonna redo those videos because that was really fun. And I'll be honest, you know, teaching this stuff makes you a better coach, because you get to own your craft, and you get to go back and look. You get to look at your stuff, and you say, okay, well, why do I do that again? And there's been times I've been doing chalk talks, and I'm like, that doesn't, no, I need to do it this way. And that happened today in the Power Read video. I was like, why am I blocking out with that guy? I need to block down. So I just kind of played it off, and at least I didn't drop a marker in the video like I normally do. But hey, Coach Drew, I really appreciate having you on, and you guys who tuned in tonight, I appreciate it. And we'll try to do, obviously I think Sunday night is going to be our night. That's the night when we can get most people. We'll try to catch people before Sunday Night Football or something like that, and during the season, if we were able to do it during the season. And but just like I always say, man, spin it to win.